Here we're going to look at factorising more trinomials. In this case we're going to look at making things a little bit messier with the negatives. Just as before, the negatives don't make it any more difficult, they just make it a little bit more awkward, and we need to just be a bit more careful when picking our factors. Our method of using a grid does not change. So here's a trinomial, x squared plus 20x plus 36, all positive. So just a quick reminder on how we deal with these. The x squared, we know would go up the top left of our multiplication grid. The 36, we know that would go down the bottom right. And we know these two boxes are going to have x's in them, and the total number of x's is going to be 20. So those two yellow boxes will need to add up to 20x. We know that these two boxes in my grid multiply together and give the same answer as these two boxes multiply together. So I need to be considering the factors of 36x squared. I've got an x and x already, so I don't really need to worry about the x squared. I just need to worry about the numbers. And to do this, we just list them off in an organised way. So I've started with 1 and 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, 5 isn't a factor, and 6 is his own partner. We're looking for a pair of factors that will add up to give us 20. Everything's going to be positive, so we don't need to worry about negatives. 2 plus 18 will give us 20. So it means I'll have 2x and 18x to get my 20x. Remember, the 2 and 18 could go either way around. I'm going to use these two first, so I'm going to try and figure out what would go there. Both of these have got a common factor of a single x, so that will allow me to fill in the top row. X times x and x times 2. I can fill this value in. I know x times 18 will give me 18x, and a quick check, 36 is 18 times 2. So this means my trinomial can factorise to x positive 2, so x plus 2 is my first factor, x positive 18, x plus 18. The order I've got these brackets in does not matter. The next one looks very similar, but the positive 20 has changed to a negative 20. So let's see how we would deal with that. I've got a grid, I've got my x squared, I've got my 36. I know these two boxes are going to have some x's in them, and it'll add up to give me negative 20. Now, this is where it gets a little bit messier. We just need to be on our toes here. These two boxes will multiply to give me positive 36x squared. However, these two boxes need to add up to give me negative 20. This means I need two negatives in this case, because two negatives are going to multiply to give me positive 36, and I need two negatives to add up to give me this negative 20. If I tried working with a negative and a positive here, well, these would multiply to give me a negative, and we can see multiplying these we've got a positive. So remember, these two sort of diagonals multiply to give us the same number. So I need to consider my factors. I've already got the factors of 36 here, so -1 and -36 would give me -37. -2, -18, that'll give me 20 negatives, -20. So this needs to be my pair again. So I can have -2 and -18x, which will combine to give me this -20. Now I need to start pulling out my factors. I've got negatives in both of these lines, so I'm just going to start with this one. X squared and -2x. They have both got a common factor of x and nothing else. That'll let me fill in an x there, because x times x is x squared. And it'll let me put a -2 here, because x times -2 gives me the -2x. Next line, x times -18 will give me -18x. Now I can use this last box as a check. A negative times a negative will give me a positive. 2 18s give me 36. So I have done this correctly. This means I can just pull my factors out from the side of my grid. I've got x minus 2 from the x -2, and I've got x minus 18 from the x and the -18 there. Here's another one involving a positive at the end and a negative in the middle. Same deal, x squared and 24. I'm going to have some x's in here, and those two boxes will add up to give me -10. They need to multiply to give me positive 24x squared. So if they need to multiply to give me positive 24, but add up to give me a negative, it means they both need to be negative, because a negative multiplied by a negative will give me this positive. So I'm just going to list all my factor pairs. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and I've got no more. So I go down my list. -1, -24, well, that will give me -25, so that's no use. -2 and -12, having them there, give me -14. -3 and -8, no good. Having them there would add together to give me -11. So this leaves me with -4 and -6. That will add together to give me -10. So -4 and -6 need to go in my boxes there. Now I can start looking at that row or this column, doesn't matter which. I won't have to deal with a negative anyway. So looking along the way, I've got an x in common for this row here. So I'll have x times x to give me the x squared. Here I'll need to do x times -6. Next row, x times -4 will give me -4x, and just checking with this positive 24, well, that negative times a negative will give me a positive. 4 times 6 will give me the 24. So I've done that correctly. This grid will tidy up to give this trinomial. So it means I can pull these factors out from the side of my grid. So he's going to factorise to x minus 6, and a second factor of x minus 4. Remember, if I had put the -4 and -6 in opposite places, the only thing that would have happened differently are these two terms would be in different places. The -6 and -4 would appear on opposite sides. Now, this one here, he looks very similar to the one I've just done. And this is just to get you to be careful with your factors. You might be tempted to go, well, there's a negative here, so I can just use 4 and 6 and make one of them positive. But we need to take care, because positive 6 and negative 4, or positive 4 and negative 6, they aren't going to add up to give us positive 10. So I'm going to start this one with my grid. I'm going to think carefully about my factors. I'm going to have some x's in here. And with these two boxes, are going to have to add up to give me positive 10. And they're going to need to multiply to give me negative 24x. X squared even. So this means one of the factors will need to be positive and one of them will need to be negative. I know because they're going to add up to give me positive 10, the positive value is going to have a greater size than the negative value. So I can essentially just reuse my factors of 24 here. I know one of these is going to be the positive 24, negative 1, that's going to give me positive 23, positive 12, negative 2, that's going to leave me with 10 positives. So I am going to have positive 12, negative 2. Looking at the factors, so taking out a common factor there, I can see this is going to be positive. Looking up and down here, I know I can expect a negative in here. I'll start with this. I'll deal with the positives first. So both of these, I've got an x in common. X times x will give me this x squared. Here I've got 12 x's, so I'll need a 12 down there. 12 times x gives me 12x. Right, x times minus 2 to give me minus 2x. Let's use the negative 24 here to check. A negative times a positive does indeed give me a negative. 12 times 2 gives me 24. So I've pulled all my factors out to the side correctly. So this will let me factorise this trinomial, this thing here, to x minus 2, x plus 12. So, be very careful with your negatives. If your trinomial is all positive, you know your factors are all going to be positive. If this term at the end here is positive, but you've got a negative here, you're going to be dealing with two negatives. When it's the other way around, when we've got a negative and a positive or a negative here, you know, you're going to have a positive and a negative, and you're going to have to think carefully about the size of your positives and your negatives. Right, you've got a fairly hefty sort of set of examples here. Notice you'll be dealing with factors of 24 throughout all of these, factors of 64 throughout all of these, and then there are some further questions, or you can attempt to generate your own sequences. With these last three here, this is going beyond the scope of what you've been shown in this video. However, if you want to have a go at that, that's fine. But just bear in mind, you'll be looking at that sort of thing in the following lesson.